Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on July 27th, 2022 at approximately 6:16 a.m. PST. This world is absolutely riddled with declarations of fear, war, prejudice, you name it. Okay, and realistically, if we continue down this road, we're going to repeat the same thing that happened in Rome and so many other civilizations prior to this current rendition of it. Okay, now I return to this world for one primary purpose, and that is to remind everyone in existence that working together we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, there will certainly be people that do not agree with, that don't like the changes that are required. Okay, but those people are the ones that prefer to walk on people, to make people feel worse about themselves. They desire to control everything you're doing. Now, do not get me wrong. Let's get something real clear. Okay, first and foremost, I call myself a spiritual guide because the tools I offer people are the exact same tools I personally use. And the philosophies of life that I talk about are the ones I personally believe and the ones I personally live by. Now, to that end, I only follow three laws. Be true to yourself first. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. And energy out, energy in. Okay, now if you take a look at all the laws, all the rules that you follow, I do believe that you will find that every one of the ones you follow fit inside the three I follow. Okay, now with that in mind, I figure I've got a better setup in one sense. I only have to remember three laws. Okay, in your case, you may have to remember a whole pile of them. But to begin with, and to be very clear about something here, the systems that are set in place right now are designed to work. The problem is the way they're being handled. Okay, governments, if you're going to have more than two people living in one place, even with only two people, but you have to have a government in place to lay down laws, to lay down guidelines that affect everybody. The problem is that many of the laws that are being passed right now and many of the concessions that are being passed don't add up right. Okay, and they do far more towards separating people than they do to unify them. Okay, now when we're talking about mindset, okay, you may not like the government that's in your country right now. Okay, if you're not happy with the government in your country, okay, again, follow those three laws first. But changing the government in your own country is not done by overthrowing it. It's done by getting involved in it and working towards changing what's going on by working with the people, by working with the community. In other words, communicate with the people around you in order to affect major change. Now, yeah, technically major change can be done in some pretty volatile fashions. But let's be clear, war has never brought peace. In recorded history, it brings quiet. Okay, but it is not something that is good for the economy. Okay, you can make things good for the economy without shooting people or without blowing things up. Okay, but it does require planning. Okay, war causes instantaneous change, and seldom does it cause instantaneous change for the better. At least not from anything I've seen. Now, with that in mind, like I said, governments are necessary. Okay, lawyers are necessary. But again, the problem is the laws that are being passed, and the loopholes that are being dumped into place are protecting people from dealing with the reality. Now, you do have freedom of choice. You do have free will. What you don't have is freedom from consequence. Okay. And this is one of the major fallacies that is being propagated throughout virtually every religion I've taught that I've looked into. Okay, but this one falls squarely on the shoulders of the Christian religion and the 45,000 denominations around the world, where they talk about Christ dying for your sins. Well, he did, but the problem is this: he died for the sins that were done before he came along. Okay, then he came along, and you don't have to believe me on this one. Okay, believe what you will. This is, like I said, this is simply my philosophy. Okay, and if it fits for you, this works. Okay, if it doesn't, then ignore it. But Christ did come along, and he did say, he came in and he died for your sin and for people's sins before he came along. He did not die so that you could have a carte blanche way of walking around and walking on people and hurting people and stealing from people. Okay, he didn't do that. Okay, he didn't say you never have to be nice again. He didn't say go and have a happy and steal from everybody you can. And he certainly didn't say, hey, you that are running the church. Matter of fact, in all fairness, Christ didn't say anything about starting the church up in the first place. But he certainly didn't say, take all the money, become the greediest people on the planet, and build massive monuments to yourselves. Okay. He said, be nice to each other. Treat each other as you would yourself, as you would have them treat you. Okay, I believe that neat little concept that he gave of let he who hath not sinned cast the first stone. Even he wouldn't throw a stone. Now, that might give you an idea, if you're going to follow that faith, that, that judging people for the way they are, okay, especially if they haven't had the functional opportunity to change, you may be following the wrong kind of guidelines. Okay, now I will tell you this. I've taken a look at my life, and it's time you take a look at yours. Are you content with the way your life is, with everything about it? If not, now is the time to really take a look and start changing the energy of the world that you're living in. Okay, now, I've had a lot to say about different things where it comes to doctors and what have you, but understand, the medical profession, the doctors are required. It would be an idea to focus on healing people instead of keeping them ill, but that's just my personal opinion. Okay, but I was just listening to a little blurb on Facebook this morning, and they came up with they repeated a brilliant statement that seems to be propagated time and time again. Cutting back, what they said, and I'm paraphrasing, was cutting back on the amount you eat and exercise will not cause you to drop weight. Well, I'm sorry. That is just absolutely a truckload of guess what? Because if you think about the simplicity of it, cut down on the amount of calories you're putting. If you are expending more calories than you're putting in, you're going to drop weight. Now, it is absolutely imperative. It's absolutely imperative that you turn around and put the right types of food, the right types of nutrition into your body. Absolutely imperative. Okay. But I will tell you, and I'm living proof of it, I do not have a great diet. Okay. But I cut down on the amount of food I eat. I move a little more than I was. And I have been dropping weight and keeping it off. Okay. It's just that simple. Now, from your standpoint, now, like I said, the doctors are necessary. The spiritual guides, your churches, your temples, that way of finding a sense of brotherhood is absolutely necessary. Okay, and the reason for that is sometimes the family you're born into doesn't work out as well as you'd like. Okay, and you've got to find because people are a social group, okay, they are social animals. Because of that, you do require some social interaction. Now, yes, I became rather reclusive, but I also will go out of my way when I'm walking along. I'll talk to whoever I see. The reality is, I don't leave the house a whole lot. Okay, or at least not in my eyes. But I'm quite content with me. Okay, not with the way my life is right now, but it's coming. Okay, and I've had to lay down some pretty solid boundaries and bring my own frustration under control. Now, earlier this morning, for whatever reason, all of a sudden my blood pressure, it dropped, which is a really neat change. It went down, it dropped off to, and I was just sitting here on my chair here, and all of a sudden I started feeling a little off kilter. My blood pressure dropped to 123/71, with my pulse down at 71. Okay. Now, at the same time, and I keep forgetting to buy one of these, my temperature went through the roof. Why? Not entirely certain. Okay. But what I do know is as soon as I got up and started to move again, my blood pressure came up to a normal level and I'm feeling fine. But your medical professionals, your nutritionists and what have you, they have an education. Okay. They likely have more education than you do, in all probability. Unless you're working in that field, at which point, hopefully, you've got more than they do. Okay. But these are institutions that are required. Okay. The educational institutions, absolutely necessary. However, it would be nice if they actually came out instead of just pushing people through nowadays. They'd actually teach them so that when they came out, they could read, write, and do basic math in whatever language you're working with. Okay. This is what I mean by the system is a good layout. It's the people running the system that when I talk about needing to be replaced, I mean literally go out, get the education yourself, figure out how things are done, and especially when it comes to the political arena, get involved in the political arena yourself if you're not happy with the way it is and you've got the inclination. Okay, then absolutely go and get involved in it. You make the changes from inside. But those changes have to start with you. Okay, you've got to be the one starting your own world to change. Now, for me, okay, I started off by looking at the way I'm looking at myself, not just at the way I'm looking at the world. Because the reality is, you always look at the common denominator. The common denominator of everything going on in your life is you. Okay. Now you cannot control how other people think, in all likelihood anyway. You cannot control how other people, you cannot control how other people think. You cannot control how they're going to react. And the one thing I learned really, really long ago was you can strive to gauge the other person's reaction. Run through all the ins and outs of what you think they're going to do, and I will tell you, I found out the hard way. The one thing you miss is likely the one they're going to do. Okay, so from your standpoint, it really does boil down to an issue of taking a look at it. Okay, look at the way you're behaving. You control what you do. Your thoughts may wander on occasion, but your actions are your choice. Okay, whether they are good for you or bad for you doesn't matter. You've got to take responsibility for your actions. Okay, you cannot control how other people are going to react, but you can control how you respond to their actions. This is all within your control, and every single individual out there has the same control, has that same option. Sometimes it's really difficult, especially if you've got a temper. It can be really difficult to put your mouth in gear. I don't have a real big temper where it comes to my mouth going into gear. I just have absolutely no control. I looked at it and I was told one day years ago, right, that I had to learn tact. And I looked at the person and I said, tact? And they went, yeah, the ability to tell somebody, to go to guess where and make them look forward to the trip. I says, I've only got one problem with that philosophy. And they went, what's the problem with it? I said, well, if I'm already mad enough to tell somebody where to go, why do I care whether or not they look forward to the trip? Okay. Now, and again, this boils down to I listen to a lot of people. Okay. I talk to a lot of people, and the one thing that I find, like I bill myself as a spiritual guide. I did spend years with a psychiatrist trying to figure out how my brain works, which, by the way, doesn't work normally. But he asked me one day, he goes, why don't you, and why haven't you ever gone after your paperwork? I looked at him and I says, well, no offense intended, but I don't require a piece of paperwork for somebody to tell me I have no idea what I'm talking about. Now, I get psychologists calling me, okay, and they tell me that they're professional psychologists, and yet they're asking questions that I'm looking at it going, how could you not know that in your profession? Right? Things like, for instance, they claim to be, psychologists, they're lifestyle, they're life guidance counselors, this sort of thing, and yet they don't seem to have the basic concepts of financial control of their own world. Okay, and these are the people telling other people how to get their lives in order. Now, I'm not perfect, don't get me wrong. Okay, but I have taken the time to really take a look at at myself, at my own life, which is why with the company that I own, with Inner Voice Enterprises, I've already got this laid out into a complete superstructure. Okay, where when it gets big enough, like I've worked out the whole way of running it up until I'm making $1 million a month. Now that's one heck of an increase, considering right now I'm making just over 3,000, 3,500 ish. Okay, so am I going to tell you how to be a millionaire yet? No, but I will tell you how to get out from behind the eight ball. Okay, and that boils down to really taking a look in the mirror and going, am I content with me? Am I happy with the way the energy in my world is flowing? If the answer is yes, then absolutely great, keep at it. Okay, kind of an important thing. If you're content, honestly, if you're content with your life, there's no functional reason to change it. Okay, unless you're content with your life and you're not following the laws of the land in which you are, because that falls under karmic law. You must do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Whether you're happy about your life or not, if you're not following karmic law, you're going to, in all likelihood, run into some pretty severe problems. Okay. Now, the thing you got to remember with karmic law is that it affects you regardless of what you're doing. It's kind of like money. Money doesn't care how you feel either. Okay. But I've taken my life, and you can take your life. Okay. You can take your life and change it from what it currently is to whatever you desire it to be. Get your head sorted around, get a dream in mind, and go after that. Okay, for me, it's simple. I've now got a website. I'm in the middle of building a website. I don't think it's up yet. It is highly improbable that it's up. I'm just going to see what comes up when I hit my website. See, the website that I've got that will be coming up is rkeithandrews.com. It's already in the works. They've got all the information. They're working on it. Okay. And as soon as it comes up, that's where I'm going to start really pushing things as far as the online presence goes. Okay, because I'm not content with the fact that the books that I'm writing are not making the money. They're not paying off and providing the what's the word I'm looking for? Providing the lifestyle that I desire to have. But what is working is I figured out how to track the finances properly, not how to budget. Budget only works if you've got X number of dollars coming in regularly. If you're on a wage, if you're on an hourly wage, that will not be a static amount. Okay, the only time I do not like flies, at least not in my mouth. The only time that a budget works is if you've got an absolute, solid, definite, I've got this much money coming in at this time. Now I've got one contract that I can take the money that I can take the money and lay it out. I can say this is what comes in, this is the breakdown. But tracking it, on the other hand, is absolutely in the right end. Okay, now something that I did, and this is just my own. Why don't I put my glasses on that I can see? This is just my own breakdown. Okay, of the money coming in, I take when the money comes in, it gets broken down into 20 of my business. 20% goes to charity. Correction. 20% is what I'm earning. 10% is what my executive assistant is earning. Okay, I put 40% aside to handle word of mouth referral fees, my word of mouth advertising. Another 10% gets put aside for charity, and this is of my business. This is not my personal side. Okay, and then I've got money put aside for shipping and the whole 9 yards. Now, the thing with running a business is it's exactly the same as running a household. You still have to take the same things into consideration. Same as getting the energy moving. Now, where it comes to modifying your life, the first thing you have to do is look at yourself and go, am I content? Okay. Now, with that in mind, I've recently sent for a product online. I'm fully expecting it to have been a waste of money, in all fairness. Okay. But considering the fact I'm not content with my teeth, okay, it's just that simple. I cannot go to the dentist because of PTSD triggered by the hospital and the dentist. Okay. And my immune system to most medications is phenomenally high. So this little supplement that I've ordered, okay, I'm going to see if it works to help my teeth. It's theoretically supposed to. But the last time I tried a supplement that was supposed to be beneficial, it caused me a heart attack. To say the least, I threw it out. Okay. I'm trying the heart attack thing, not interested in it anymore. Okay. But I'm going to try them and try the medication, and if it works, then I will let people know what it was. But for the moment, I'm not content with it, so I'm dealing with it. I'm not content with my weight level yet, so I'm still working on it, but I'm doing the work, and this is the same for you. If you're not happy with the way you are, start eliminating the things, start changing the things that you're not content with into things that you are content with. Because the reality is, once you've eliminated all the things you're not happy with, all you're left with is a life that you are content with. Now, to this end, as soon as I'm heading out, as a matter of fact, I should probably point that out. By the way, if you like this video, do give us a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel. There's a lot more information coming out. Okay. I will not be going live this weekend because I'm heading off for my 40-year grad reunion, and I won't be in the city. I'm not even going to have my computer with me. Okay, I'm leaving it behind. So the reality of it from my standpoint is pretty simple. Okay, I'm going to turn around and, I'm taking off for a couple of days, which means I also won't be doing the journey for the next until I may or may not. It's a toss up right now. I may do one on Sunday, but I will be back on Monday. Okay. It's just this is a case of I've got to put me as a priority this time. Okay. So I'm in the middle of getting that all sorted out. And I've got some pretty serious things to deal with when I get back. Where you have to take a look at is look in the mirror. Okay. Decide, are you content with you? Because you're the one that's going to have to be doing the effort, putting the work in to change your life. Okay. You're the one that's going to have to do it. You can talk to anybody you choose, get all the encouragement you can from anybody. And to that end, I do desire to say thank you so much for joining me, for encouraging me to continue with this. It's not been 100%, 100% on the run. But your input has definitely helped me keep focused. So I'm in the middle of dropping the weight that I don't desire to have. As soon as I get back, then I start looking at upgrading my wardrobe. Okay, and bringing into a more professional, more you know. When I talk about more professional, I just mean a cleaner, a neater look. Okay, and don't get me wrong, I got nothing against t-shirts. As a matter of fact, I wear them a lot. But in order to start drawing the right type of energy to us and to yourself, you have to start looking the part. And what I mean by that, I don't mean go to the to your great big suit shops. Don't go buying yourself a 3-piece suit unless number one, you feel comfortable with it, and number two, it's kind of you can afford it. Not whether or not it's, the reality is, am I ever going to put a tie on? Maybe, if I die. Oh, that's not me putting it on. That's somebody else putting it on me. Of course, once I'm dead, I don't care. I don't like ties. So, will I get in dress shirts? Will I get into something a little bit more upbeat? The answer is definitively yes. But I'm also very picky about how I get treated. Okay. I walked into a store one day, and I'm sure some of you have run into this. I walked into a store, into a place that sold suits. Now, I was dressed normally. I was actually dressed in a golf shirt. They looked me up and down. They never even got off their chair to come and talk to me. Now, I walked out. I didn't buy a thing from them. Now, from your standpoint, we're at the half-hour mark here, so get an idea in your head as to what you really desire your life to look like, or more to the point, what you're not content with right here, right now. It's time we start changing that. Okay, and start co-creating the world we desire. Now, with that in mind, I will be back again tomorrow. Well, I'll be back again on Monday. As soon as I can get back, I will talk to you. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.